My job interview lasted 11 hours. By hour 8, I realized I wasn't being interviewed. I was being tested. I applied for a mid-level financial analyst role. Quiet boutique consulting firm. Downtown office. Nothing flashy. They invited me to a super day. Intensive final round. Multiple interviews. Case studies. Standard corporate gauntlet. I arrived at 8 a.m. 6 other candidates. Sharp suits. Firm handshakes. Competitive energy. The first 3 hours were standard. Resume reviews. Behavioral questions. Basic financial modeling exercises. Then the doors locked. The tone shifted completely. Hour 4. They split us into teams for case studies. 15-minute deadlines. Impossible scope. They intentionally gave conflicting data to different team members. Designed to spark arguments. Designed to create friction. They weren't testing our answers. They were testing how we handled pressure. Hour 5. No breaks. No food. Just stale coffee and fluorescent lights. Hour 6. The questions became personal. Probing. Uncomfortable. They asked about failures. They asked about ethical compromises. They watched our micro expressions. Hour 7. 2 candidates walked out. One slammed the door. The other just quietly collected his bag and left without a word. 4 of us remained. Hour 8. Another candidate broke. He started arguing with the interviewer. Raised his voice. Security escorted him out. 3 of us left, running on adrenaline and spite. Hour 9. They separated us into individual rooms. Isolation. No contact with the other candidates. Just a desk, a laptop, and a clock on the wall. Hour 10. The senior partners entered my room. They handed me a massive raw data set. Hundreds of transactions. Multiple entities. Cross-border payments. The prompt was simple. This is a fictional client. Highly profitable. But the data shows minor ethical gray areas. Do you take the client or walk away? I looked at the data. The other 2 candidates gave their answers in the adjoining rooms. I could hear them through the thin walls. Generic. Safe. I would report it to HR. I would decline the client and document my concerns. Textbook responses. Designed to avoid controversy. It was my turn. I looked at the partners. I wouldn't just report it. They waited. Because this isn't an ethical gray area. This is a highly sophisticated offshore money laundering structure. Silence. I stood up. I walked to the whiteboard. I started mapping. These vendor invoices are fake. The amounts are randomized to avoid detection thresholds, but the timing patterns are consistent with layering. I drew the flow. Funds enter here through this shell company in Cyprus. They pass through these 3 intermediary accounts in the Caymans. They exit here as legitimate consulting fees to this Delaware LLC. I circled the final entity. This isn't a gray area. This is textbook trade-based laundering. If this were a real client, the firm would need to file a suspicious activity report within 48 hours and freeze all associated accounts to avoid federal liability. I set down the marker. I turned to face the partners. They weren't writing notes. They weren't nodding. They were frozen. Hour 11. The door opened. A man I hadn't seen before walked in. Gray suit, no tie. Calm presence. The CEO. He looked at the whiteboard, then at me. He didn't smile. That wasn't dummy data. My stomach dropped. We don't have an open analyst position. We never did. He stepped closer to the whiteboard. This firm is a private corporate fraud investigation consultancy. We were hired 3 weeks ago to trace a suspected cartel money laundering operation. He pointed at my diagram. You just mapped the exact layering mechanism we've been trying to crack. In 45 minutes, on 11 hours of no sleep, he turned to face me. Your interview is over. What's your starting salary requirement? I stared at him. I came here for a spreadsheet job. You're overqualified for spreadsheets. He handed me a business card. Welcome to Forensic Investigation. You start Monday. I walked into that building at 8 a.m. hoping for a stable analyst position. I walked out at 7 p.m. as a corporate fraud investigator.